Good morning. We're here today on Treaty 6 territory, and I'd also like to acknowledge the Métis people who share a deep connection to this land. I'm so thrilled to be here with many members of our growing Alberta NDP team, made up of people from diverse backgrounds with unique skills and perspectives. And I'm also very pleased to be welcoming prominent Albertans joining us from other progressive traditions as well. We are united in our goal to build a better future for Alberta. Today is day one of Danielle Smith's 7-month government. These next 7 months will bring more chaos, more costs, and more conflict. Smith has made it plain that the real issues Alberta families are struggling with are of no interest to her. Instead, she's preoccupied with a so-called Sovereignty Act. At best, it's a fake. Another strongly worded letter to Ottawa. At worst, it will destroy jobs, destroy investor confidence, and stifle Alberta's economy at a critical moment. On healthcare, Smith has lots of plans to fire people, but no idea about how to hire the frontline professionals we so desperately need. Over these coming months and beyond, we are going to stay focused on what matters. First of all, Alberta families are stressed out by the worst cost of living crisis in 40 years. Groceries, gasoline, housing, insurance, utilities, everything is getting more expensive every month. Meanwhile, Alberta workers are seeing the slowest wage growth in the country. Families are falling a little farther behind every month. So we will bring relief to Alberta families, and we will also end the chaos in Alberta healthcare. Today, dozens of rural hospitals are partially closed. Urban emergency rooms are overwhelmed, ambulance delays are dangerously long, and hundreds of thousands of Albertans have no family doctor. An Alberta NDP government will bring real resources to the front line, and we will work collaboratively, respectfully with healthcare professionals. And lastly, we must seize this moment to build a modern and resilient economy. We will build on our strengths in oil and gas, and we will be a continental powerhouse in renewable energy. We'll be focused on building an economy that creates good-paying jobs and exciting opportunities every year for generations to come. Those are our 3 goals: relief for families, repairing healthcare, and a resilient jobs economy. And if those are things you want, we have a lot to talk about together. If you're someone who watched the results last night and woke up this morning feeling that you just don't have a voice in this province anymore, I want to speak to you directly. You want to be able to provide a good life for your family. You want healthcare you can rely on in your community when you need it. And you want to know there are jobs and opportunities for you and your kids. I know that you're tired of the division and the drama and the chaos. And so I offer you the alternative. An Alberta NDP government will be stable, will be responsible, and will be focused on delivering results for you and your family. Thank you. And I'm happy to take any questions folks may have.
Thank you, and we'll start with questions in person.
Hi, Janet French from the CBC. Just don't look at me, look at the cameras. I mean, there's some people who just by sheer belief are never going to vote for the NDP. They just mentally ruled it out. So what will you say to try and either appeal to those people, or is it your hope that they just stay home the next time we go to the polls?
Well, my focus and the focus of our team here will be to build more and more bridges and more relationships with more and more Albertans. And the way we're going to do it is by offering a stable government, by offering to focus on the issues that we know Albertans are telling us every day on the doorstep matter to them. Affordability, finding ways to help families make ends meet at the end of each month, and finding ways to help and rebuild and restore our healthcare system. This is, like, these folks behind me have been door knocking all across the province, and that's what they're hearing, is that these are the priorities of Albertans, and those Albertans are getting very, very frustrated with the fact that they're not hearing the UCP talk about how to really deliver on them, and they are opening their minds to voting for the NDP as a result.
Just a follow-up, so today MLA Michaela Fry announced that she has stepped aside. She's encouraging Danielle Smith to run in Brooks Medicine Hat. It's also the riding where Barry Morishita would try and seek a seat, right, for the Alberta Party. So, I mean, what do you think Gwendolyn Dirk's chances are like in that kind of dynamic?
Well, I'm very excited. We have a candidate, Gwendolyn Dirk, in Brooks Medicine Hat. She's a long-standing resident of the area. She was raised on a farm. She's taught there. She's been a college instructor there. She's a big volunteer in the nonprofit sector, and she's committed to the people in that community. We were there just last week. We had our most successful fundraiser in Medicine Hat ever as the NDP, so I'm optimistic. But the other thing that's very, very important on this matter is that there should be at least 2 by-elections. Because if Danielle Smith is scared to run in Elbow, that's her call. But it is not her call to stop the people of Elbow from having a voice over the course of the next 7 months. And so no matter where Danielle Smith chooses to run, she must also call a by-election in Calgary Elbow, because the people of Calgary deserve to have their voice heard, particularly over the next 7 months when Danielle Smith is talking about moving forward on so many issues that are so incredibly impactful and so distant from the things that the UCP have talked about in the past.
Ms. Notley, Sarah Ryan from Global News. What do you take away from the fact that the leadership vote went to a 6th ballot?
I think the fact of the matter is that Danielle Smith essentially got support last night from about 1% of Albertans, and I would argue it's a fairly extreme group, and I would argue that it's just over 50% of the UCP membership. So anyone who thinks that the chaos and the infighting and the drama that has distracted this UCP government from actually getting to work to help Albertans over the last year and a half, 2 years, is over, is going to be sorely disappointed. The fact of the matter is that this party continues to be divided, and Albertans are going to continue to be the second consideration of these elected officials after they finish focusing on their own internal drama and their own internal political interests.
Now that we know who you're up against, is this really the start of the campaign towards the spring election?
I think what we are starting now is a conversation about the priorities that Danielle Smith seems to think Albertans are interested in. And so because she is so offside with the mainstream of Albertans, because she is looking at taking our cherished healthcare system, which is in deep crisis, and making it so much worse, the intensity of the debate will likely increase. There's no question about that. Same with her Sovereignty Act, because that Sovereignty Act is very likely to create an incredible level of economic chaos across Alberta at a time when we are just barely getting back on our feet. And the fact of the matter is even though there are some good signs, Albertans are still experiencing the lowest wage growth in the country. So we're still in a very delicate position. And so all these issues matter a great deal. And so the intensity of the conversation will definitely turn up a little bit.
We'll take some calls from the phones. Just a reminder to press *9 if you're on the phone. Use the raise hand function if you're joining us via Zoom. You can say your name and your outlet at the top.
Alberta today. You mentioned that there's this disunity in the party, and in Danielle Smith's speech last night, she was very, very much saying, let's reset this. I mean, as we speak, all the caucus is on the steps of the McDougall Centre. They're not splintering into 2 parties. So what signs do you have that this is going to be a divided party going forward under Danielle Smith?
Well, Danielle Smith has indicated she has every plan of going forward with her Sovereignty Act, but a number of members of that caucus have said that they will not actually agree to vote in favor of it. So right there, her most important policy is something that is going to divide that caucus. So key leaders within that caucus are either going to have to vote against their leader or do a complete 180 on the very policy that they made a commitment to Albertans about within the last few months. So either one of those actions is going to create disunity and disharmony. And a number of the other things that Danielle Smith has come up with have also been questioned by folks within the UCP itself even. her disinterest in science, some of her wacky ideas around healthcare and cancer treatment, her ideas around vaccines and how to treat COVID. I mean, she's really made a number of statements which are very, very distant from mainstream ideas, even some of the ideas within the UCP. So it seems to me that if folks are going to stay united, they're going to have to swallow their tongues pretty regularly. And that's not something that politicians can do for that long of a time.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, and I mean, you had mentioned that this was not the mandate that the UCP ran on, the Daniel Smith mandate.
Mm-hmm.
Would her winning a by-election and the leadership be enough? Do you think we need a general election? Like, what would give Danielle Smith the mandate to carry forward the agenda that she's putting forward?
Let me be very, very clear. Her plan to privatize healthcare, to introduce an insurance-type model to our public healthcare system, to fire massive numbers of people within our healthcare system and suddenly explode it and reorganize it. Her plan to engage in this illegal, unconstitutional Sovereignty Act, all those things are things for which she has zero mandate. She's got 1% of the vote of Albertans so far, and a by-election will not change that. The reality is that if she wants to move ahead with those things, she must wait until after a general election. Albertans deserve to have their say on such incredibly dramatic policy changes that would hurt the province so deeply.
We'll go to our next caller.
Sorry, I just had to unmute myself. Arthur Green from the Western Standard. I'm just wondering, Ms. Notley, with regards to the federal government's carbon tax and how it punishes Albertans. I know the federal government has plans to triple the tax. Now that Smith is not elected, but has won the leadership race last night, I was just wondering, will you condemn the carbon tax?
Listen, what I will do is I will do the things that folks in industry, including the oil and gas, have asked us to do, which is move forward with stability and predictability that allows them to make the kind of investment decisions that will support oil and gas as they reduce their emissions and maintain their viability for generations to come. That's what we're hearing from leaders within that sector and elsewhere. And when it comes to regular Albertans who are paying a carbon tax, as you know, 4 times a year, they get that money back. Now, if you're worried, though, about regular Albertans having to pay more for gas and for taxes, I would suggest that the UCP ought to delay their plan, their action that's happening right now, of increasing the provincial tax at the pumps right now. Nowhere else in the country is any provincial government adding a gas tax in the middle of these exploding pump prices. So that's a real impact to people's bottom line, and that is something that I would suggest the UCP should focus on.
Any follow-up, Arthur? Hearing none, we'll go to our next caller.
Mandeep Pujara, this side from Prime Asia TV. I would like to ask you about the Sovereignty Act. As Daniel Smith has promised Albertans about more freedom and the Sovereignty Act, like in the coming 7 months, as you are not in favor of that, even few of her colleagues in the party are not in the favor of that. Where you see and how you see about the sovereignty of the Alberta, will that make Alberta strong, and how you will tackle that at the federal level, because you're allied with the Liberals at the federal level and you're here opposing the UCP government, the Daniel Smith. And the second question is, like, as she has already told about he will not conduct, he will not call the elections right now, that she will wait for another 7 months. And you feel that 7 months can make a huge difference to recover the health system, education system here in Alberta, and may take Alberta on track for the economic development. Thank you.
Thank you. So a few questions in there. Let me start by saying on the matters of the Sovereignty Act, no matter who is elected as Premier of Alberta, they must do everything they can to stand up for the people of Alberta, to stand up for and always advocate for this province. That's why, for example, we are less than a year away from having the first pipeline to Tidewater completed in 50 years. That was something that our government did because that's what was important for Albertans and Alberta. Now, there are different ways to get victories for your province, but passing an illegal, unconstitutional act, chasing investors and economic certainty out of your province is not a way to stand up for Albertans. It's actually just a way to play cynical politics for your own self-interest at the expense of regular people who need jobs and security. So they need to stop that. As far as the healthcare system goes, I worry that if our healthcare system has any time under the leadership of the UCP and Danielle Smith, that it is going to be harder and harder and harder to pull it back from the brink of the cliff and to restore it to a place where it can continue to provide the support and care that Albertans need when they or their loved ones are sick or injured. But that's something that we are focused on doing. But in the meantime, there is no question that some of the ideas that the UCP are playing with right now stand to be quite damaging. And I can tell you this, that an NDP government will focus on the bread and butter of making sure that regular folks get the health care they need. Getting more ambulances, making sure there are people inside those ambulances, building better partnerships with doctors and nurses, recruiting more doctors and nurses, and working with them to find ways to get more primary care available for Albertans across the province, and investing appropriately in the healthcare system to undo so much of the damage that we've seen arise over the course of the last 3 years.
We've got time for one more in person.
What is your hope for how Smith governs? Or is it that you hope she pivots more to the center, away from some of these positions you've just described as, bold or potentially extreme? Or is it that you hope she doubles down on some of that to improve the NDP's chances at the polls?
Well, obviously, as an Alberta, or as an Albertan who wants the best interest for all Albertans, I hope that she gives some sober second thought to some of the very extreme positions that she has been peddling over the course of the last several months. But what I also know will be the case is that if and when she does that, the very UCP members who put her into this position will likely then come for her, and we will have yet another cycle of drama and chaos. The UCP is not designed to govern. It hasn't been for some time. And that's why we have spent so much of the last 3.5 years being subjected to internal palace drama rather than having the privilege of watching a government roll up its sleeves and actually show up to work in the morning to do things for citizens. So I hope, for the benefit of Albertans, that over the course of the next 7 months, they do pivot to the center, as people like to say, and minimize the amount of damage that they do to the province. But I don't believe that the UCP is capable of maintaining that for any length of time because of the way it's constructed and because of what we've seen from them over the course of the last 3.5 years.
Also hoping that you can compare the NDP's election readiness, as of today, as contrasted with the UCP. How ready do you feel for a general election?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that. Compare...
sorry. Like, for example, if the government falls because the Sovereignty Act doesn't pass, or is a confidence motion or something like that, even though she's saying she wants an election in May, how ready are you if there was a snap election compared to the UCP?
I can't really speak to how ready we are compared to the UCP. I'm not privy to what they're doing, but I know we're ready. You know, we are on the cusp of having 60 candidates nominated. We have a whole bunch of others that are coming, and I'm very excited about our team. I have to tell you, we have such an incredible group of Albertans who have stepped up from all walks of life: business owners, teachers, nurses, doctors, entrepreneurs, municipal leaders. It is the occasional lawyer, because you know I'm a lawyer. I'm always keen about that. But truly, you know, people from all walks of life, and I'm so excited about them coming forward, and combined with the strength of our current caucus, and so we're ready to lead this province, to tackle the challenges that we're all facing together as Albertans, and to deliver the strong, responsive, stable, competent government that I think so many Albertans are desperate to see.
And that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Watching. Alberta's NDP is working hard to build Alberta's future, and to build a future that involves all Albertans. The momentum is building. If you want to be part of it, join us at albertasndp.ca.